Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you guys are doing well and that you've had a good weekend. We're hanging in there for a few more minutes until 10, and then at 10 we'll get the meeting underway for today. Thank you guys for being here. Sorry I had to adjust the meeting time during this week, but not to worry because this is an online class. There will always be a video posted, so you'll be able to get the information if you're not able to watch live. But it's a good thing for you to come in and engage and help participate in the review, so hopefully we get some numbers. And there's a couple of minutes left till 10. One second, I'm just going to get myself a little soft drink. Okay. Just another minute to go. Okay. Well, it's mostly more or less 10 a.m., so I'm going to go ahead and get us started. I know there's only a couple of us that are here in the house. Hey, Caesar, good to see you. Good morning. Is there another person in the house? I see that the numbers show 2. If so, go ahead, feel free to say hi. It's always nice to just check in with you guys. It's a small group. It's just the 2 of us, I guess, or maybe 3. But anyway, I figured that there would be a little less live attendance just because I had to make an adjustment to our meeting time for the finals week. But not to worry, we'll just make the best of it. I'm going to go through the study guide with you guys so that we can have a little bit of preparation for your test. On Thursday, which is our last, sort of day when we would normally meet, I'm going to distribute the test form itself at 4. Hi there, Nicole. Good to see you. And I see a couple others trickling in. So appreciate all you guys' attendance and hard work through the semester. But we're right here at the, I see it, I see a typo, not to worry. Yeah, we're right here at the end. So we want to finish strong, not, fade at the last hurdle. We want to sprint to the finish and have a nice, successful result in the end. So I'm here to help you guys go through the study guide. And here's the thing. So the final is going to be a cumulative final, but it's going to emphasize a little bit more of the topics and material from the second half of the semester. But because it's cumulative, that means that we want to review all the material again. And that's why I wanted to dedicate 2 different class meetings this week to the review, in addition to distributing your guys' final on Thursday at 4 o'clock. So earlier in the semester, if you remember, I mailed out through the Canvas announcement system, the midterm review sheet, and we used that to review for the midterm earlier when we took that test. So I also, this weekend, sent you guys the final exam study guide. I see a couple of you guys here. Can anybody just tell me that you did for sure receive that, just so I'm sure that we're all on the same page? You guys have our final exam study guide, right? Let me know. Let me know here in our chat that you were able to obtain that document off of the announcement that I sent on Saturday. Study guide, you got it? Just looking for a quick confirmation from you guys while we're here together. Okay, good, it's posted, perfect. So you have the study guide, that's the second one. If you want to go back to take a second look at the midterm study guide, that's also listed in our class announcements. You just got to scroll down to the relevant date and the relevant announcement. So anyway, we have the two study guides, up to the midterm and then post-midterm. So I can go through these different study guides with you in whatever order you want. We could do before the midterm today, and then the other stuff on Thursday, right before we take the test, or we could start with the stuff that's after the midterm today and then review the earlier material on Thursday. Who has a view about this? Does anybody want to get, I mean, in my mind, I was thinking go way back to the beginning and do it in sequence, you know, start at the beginning and do both study guides. But if we do it that way, then we won't get to the second one, the post-midterm guide, until our Thursday meeting. So I don't know what your priority would be, but I'd let you, I'll defer to you because you have a better sense probably of what information you'd like to hear about today. So any votes, any opinions? What do you want to do? Start at the beginning or pick up from the midterm and then do the earlier stuff later? What do you think? Either way, we're going to cover it all. It's just what you want to do first. So just give me that little bit of feedback. That'll help me, you know, get started with the review. Just let me know. I'm right here. I see your comments. You agree, start at the beginning? Okay, perfect. That sounds good, Bianca. So I will do that. One thing I'm just doing, hold on one second. I'm opening another window on my browser so that I can do something here for you guys that might be a little bit useful. So just give me 2 seconds. Okay. Okay, guys, so cool. Here's what I've just done. I want to make the most of this meeting so that we can use all the tools that we have to deliver the content. So I want it to be a kind of a dual platform meeting. So what that means is this. I'm going to share a Zoom link here in our YouTube live chat. And that means that you'll be able to click that link and then we will open up another window of your browser which will show the Zoom meeting. I'm just doing that so that we can share the screen and all look at the study guide together, but it's going to be dual platform. So like this YouTube live recording is going to just keep on rolling and it's going to be left on the YouTube channel so that people can go back to it later. But for those that are watching live, you're going to get a little extra benefit because you're going to also be using Zoom while I'm recording the YouTube live video. So that'll help us. You can use the mic if you want or the camera, and if not, that's fine too. And you can just use the Zoom chat, but you'll at least be able to see the shared screen where I can pull up the study guide and we can all use it as a common reference. So here, look at the link that I just shared. Click it, please, and then I'll be right there. You can mute this audio on your YouTube channel so there's no feedback if you have your microphone on or something, or you can just turn your microphone off on Zoom. But I'll be right there with you guys, okay? So click over to that Zoom meeting. Okay. Are you guys doing it or not? Where are you at? Let's see if you come through. Okay, got Caesar, good. Nicole, I see you there. Austin, perfect. And is that it? Is that all of us? Okay. If so, no problem. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to pull up our little chat window. And actually, okay, let me start sharing the screen. Okay. All right, so quickly. Okay, guys, quick question. Can you type some comment in the Zoom chat, and just that makes sure that you can hear me on the mic and that you can see the camera and everything? So anybody who's here in Zoom, please just let me know by saying something in the chat, you know, the typed chat right here. Hello, hi, Austin. Okay, good. Everyone's familiar with this format. You know, you can turn on your mic if you want to speak. You can turn on your camera if you want to be seen. And you can also just use this chat, which is fine for me, and we've used live chat throughout the semester, so there's no problem with you just using that. Okay, good. So I see you three, and here I am. If there's anybody that's still over there in the YouTube meeting that hasn't clicked over to the Zoom, please do it. Now, can you guys also see the shared screen, and you can see the study guide displayed on your screen right now? Is that clear? You can all see like what I'm showing here, chapter 8. Just checking. Just let me know in the chat that you can see this. I'm talking about the screen share now, not just the Zoom. Is that on your display? You're gonna have to be the one to take initiative and talk. Don't wait for the other people. Can you see that I'm sharing the screen? Yes, clearly. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thanks again. Okay, so let's get started at the beginning. This is going to be our guide for the topics as we go through it. So if I give you a question and you see it listed here, just kind of try to anticipate and give the answer. And we'll just go as quickly as we can, and I'm going to assist. Whenever there's information that I think I can add or that I can expand on or clarify, I will do it. But I want you guys to help and do a lot of the work because you're the ones that need to be clear about the material. So first off, what is a good or a bad critical thinker? Somebody just let me know that. We're going way back to the beginning. So you'll find all the information I'm discussing here in your early notes from the start of the semester. And that's what we're talking about, chapter 8. So just inform me. If I asked you that question, what would you say? What is a good or a bad critical thinker? Yeah, who's that? I think you know it, but you gotta say it. I can't read your mind. What is a good or a bad critical thinker? I have no idea. I'm not gonna say it. You have to say it. You're the student. I'm listening to you. What is a good or a bad critical thinker?
Oh, hello, Dr. Village.
Yes, okay.
A good critical thinker is a person that would not believe a claim unless it's based on a good argument, evidence when it's making claims to provide evidence.
Very good, yes. Okay, that's a great start. So a good critical thinker is the sort of person that would not believe something unless it was based on good argument or good evidence. So they're not just gullible, they're not credulous. They're the sort of people who say, I'm not sure, I need evidence or I need proof, because I wouldn't believe something unless there was good reasons or proof. And also, like you said there, Caesar, a good critical thinker is also the kind of person who, when they make claims to others, they don't just say stuff with no reasons behind it. They give evidence and they give good arguments to support their claims. So that's what a good critical thinker is, someone that won't believe claims without evidence, and when they make claims, they give evidence. And a bad critical thinker is just the reverse. So that's the type of person that will believe stuff even if there's no good reason or evidence to support it. And that's also the sort of person who will make claims to other people, but will not provide any kind of good, solid reasoning or evidence to support their own claims. We want to be good critical thinkers, not bad critical thinkers. That's just the first definition to mention. Okay, we're going on. Somebody tell me what's an argument. It's up to you. I mean, if you don't want to speak, you can type it in, but it's just, we need the answer. What is an argument? In the technical sense, we're not talking about people fighting and yelling at each other. In the logical sense, in the critical thinking technical sense, what is an argument? I'll give you a hint. It's a set of certain things, but that's about all I want to say. So what is an argument?
An argument is a set of two or more sentences when one sentence is the conclusion and the two other sentences are the premises.
Exactly. Very good again, Caesar. So yeah, that's what an argument is. It's a set of two or more sentences, and in every argument there's one conclusion and there is at least one premise, but there can be more than one premise. So two or more sentences, one conclusion, and one or more premises. That leads us right into question 3. So question 3 says, what are the parts of an argument? Now, we did just mention them, but I would like to zoom in and get a little more detail on the definitions. Tell me, if you can, what is the conclusion all about? The conclusion of the argument is the statement that you are attempting to what? Just help me finish that thought. The conclusion of an argument, what is its role? It's the statement, the sentence that you're trying to what? And it doesn't have to be Caesar, but it can be, but any of you guys, I know it's a small group. Okay, good, Nicole. That's correct. I see it in the chat. And the conclusion of the argument is a sentence that you're trying to prove to be true. Exactly. Now, what are the premises all about? The premises, what's their role in the argument? How do they play in? Premises? We're good on conclusion, but I just need to hear what is the premises. Well, not really, Austin, because the conclusion is the claim, actually, that you're trying to defend. But close. That's correct, Nicole. The premises are the reasons or the evidence that back up, that support the conclusion. So like if somebody said their conclusion is Biden won the election, like say they're trying to prove that that's true, then they would give you reasons in support of that, like there's never been widespread electoral fraud. We have systems in place to prevent failed count or vote switching. Multiple states led by Republicans have certified their results, and therefore Biden won. So when you give the reasons, those are the premises. They're the things that are supposed to make the conclusion seem true. Okay, just giving you an example that's in the news right now, for example. Okay, so yeah, an argument has premises that lead to a conclusion. The conclusion you're trying to show is true. The premises give evidence for it. Okay, then let's go on. So now I want to ask about this question 4. What is the definition of truth? For a sentence, for a statement to be true, what does that take? What is a true statement, or the definition of true statement? If it's a true sentence, what does that mean? What has to happen for a sentence to be true? Okay, good, Caesar. The sentence has to match the facts of reality. Exactly. So Caesar, or any of you guys, tell me an example of one sentence that is true, that does match the facts of reality. Could be whatever. There's all kinds of things that are true. But just one thing that's obvious and we can recognize that it's a good example. Just so I can see that you don't just know the definition, but how to apply it to real facts. So what is a true statement? The sun rises and sets daily. Okay, good. How about something about history? That's a good one to give me, Austin. Thanks. Just going to cycle around some different kinds of examples. What about one involving human history? I know it's not a history class, but you guys know some facts, right? So what could be an example of a true statement from the past? You're like, what's history? Nothing happened. Nothing true. No, come on, tell me. You got to write a sentence, and it's just got to be something that's a fact. That's all. Can't just be the sun rising. Is that really the only thing that's true? Come on, guys. There's a million, billion, infinite things that are true. Just even looking around your room right now, you're going to see like a bunch of true things. Okay, there you go, Caesar. George Washington was the first president of the United States. That's the fact. That's what happened. So when you're saying that, you're not just saying it. It lines up with the facts of reality. So that's a true statement. If I say Abraham Lincoln was the first president, that's not true. That's a false statement. So some statements are true and some are false. What's the difference? Well, the ones that mirror and match reality, those are correct and true. Ones that don't are false. Like say that you're here's an example, I don't know, you're telling a professor that you're sick and that you need an extension on your test. But let's suppose, not you, because you never do this, but some other student is lying, right? They're just giving a fake excuse. What does it mean that it's not true? It means that they're saying it, but they're not actually sick. Okay, so when you're speaking the truth, you say you're sick, and it means you actually are, in fact, in reality. So when you say things or when you report things, they can be true or false, and what it depends on is whether the statement is in alignment with what's really going on in factual reality. Okay, good. So then next up, what's a belief? That's the fifth one here. What is a belief? To believe a statement. This follows after the definition of truth for a reason, because the definition of belief has to do with truth a little bit. But you can tell me though. What does it mean to believe a sentence? What's that? Okay, so when you think that a sentence is true, correct. So very good, Nicole. Do you believe that, I don't know, the moon is made of cheese? I don't think you think that's true. That's something you think is unbelievable. It's not true. But I guess if you're really out of it, you could think it's true. I mean, people have very weird beliefs. Some people think the world is flat. Some people think that the earth is like just a couple thousand years old, contradicting all the fossil evidence. So beliefs can be false, but we hope they're true in the most part, because when your beliefs are false, what that means is you're disconnected from reality. You think that there's something happening in reality, but it's not even happening. So we want to have true beliefs, and critical thinking helps us to get to the correct true beliefs, which is good for us and for everyone else. Okay, so then next, what are some conclusion indicator words? I'm just asking for some words which are used to refer to the conclusion of an argument. So when you're about to say your conclusion, these words come just before. Words like what? Okay, therefore, thus, hence, so. Those are all good examples. Perfect, yeah. There's also, I guess, consequently, the old Latin ergo. It follows that. Hence, oh, you said hence, and that's also good. It follows that. So that's a good sampling of the possible conclusion indicator words. You hear these words all the time. Sometimes I think the word so is perhaps the most conversationally common. You know, someone will be like, I'm feeling a little sick, so I don't think I'm going to come visit you, right? So like the conclusion is, I won't visit you, but they reach the conclusion based on the fact or reasoning that they think they may be sick. So precedes the conclusion. Anyway, okay, then next, premise indicator words. Now we're asking about some words which indicate that now you're hearing some of the evidence or reasons that support the conclusion. So what are some of these evidence words, or we could say premise words? These are not therefore, hence, and thus, but rather I'm thinking of what? Premise indicated words. Just a couple of them. Throw them out there.
Yeah, that would be because, since, given that, as, assuming, or to the fact.
Yes, very, very good, Caesar. That's all good. So, for example, in the case I just mentioned, oh, because I'm showing symptoms, and since I'm not feeling well, therefore I'm not going to work. So the first two statements were the reasons why the person gets to the conclusion that they're not going to work or that they should not go to work. It's because they feel sick, and it is since they're showing these symptoms. So when you give those kinds of reasons, you precede the statement of the reason with a premise indicator word. Because my knee is injured, therefore I couldn't compete in the race. Or since, I don't know, since Donald Trump mismanaged the coronavirus pandemic, therefore he lost the election. Suppose that's why somebody believes that he did lose, and they give that as their reasoning or evidence. So anyways, premise indicator words, everybody. Be alert to the existence of those. Now moving on to number 8. Quick question, what is an imperative sentence? What type of sentence is that? Just the terminology is imperative, but what does this mean? When it's an imperative, it's, someone knows this, I'm sure. So just let me hear it or see it, whatever. Imperative, specific kind of sentence. What is it? Surely you know this. But if you don't, then you have to learn it. What is it?
Those will be commands.
Yeah, they're commands, exactly. So can anybody think of an example of one just so that we can see how that looks? What is an imperative, for example? Easy to say. Just give a command. Go clean your room. Okay, I noticed that a lot of people with the imperatives, maybe it's because of you guys, perhaps age group or whatever, a lot of people have relied on examples like your parents telling you to do something. Go clean your room, take out the trash, wash the dishes. Okay, those are all good examples. It could be anything where an order or command is being given. Put your hands behind your head, get on the ground. You know, police would sometimes say things like that. It could also be in a classroom. Close your books, put away your notes, and so forth. All right, so then going on, what's an interrogative sentence? That one you can tell me. What kind of sentence is this? An interrogative. I think you can tell me. Questions, exactly. They're just questions. So may I go to the bathroom or something? That would be like an interrogative. Where is it? Another one. What is your favorite color? Who was the first U.S. president? These are all interrogatives. When is the final? Exactly. Good. I don't know if you're actually asking that, but Caesar, I was going to distribute it on Thursday at 4. So anyway, we use interrogatives to get information that we don't already have. We have to sometimes inquire. We have to request information from people who know or who we think know. And that's another main part of speech. Next, an astrotoric sentence. What is this? These are very basic, and these are kind of the most important ones for logic. But good, yeah, not to worry, Caesar. Anyway, though, about the assertions, assertoric sentences. What are these? They're like the bulk, the majority of sentences that you say all the time. But we just want that clear definition real quick. So what is it? Assertoric sentence. It's just a sentence that is what? It's a statement that is either true or false. Okay, very good. That's right. So it's any sentence that is either true or false. It's just a statement or a sentence that has a so-called truth value. So like if I say to you that the Earth is the 3rd planet from the sun, that's true. If I say the Earth is the 4th planet from the sun, that's false. But they're both assertions because they are statements that can be compared against the facts to see if they're true or false. If I say that JFK was assassinated, that's just true. It's something that did happen. If I say that JFK died of a heart attack, that's false. So anyways, any statement that you ever produce which is either making a claim that is true or, on the other case, incorrect and false, that's an assertion. The assertoric sentences are big because those are the only kind that can possibly be used as premises or conclusions of an argument. Because every argument is a set of sentences that are all assertions. All the premises and conclusion assert that some things are true. Okay, now number 11, this is big, this is important. I really want this to be clear because it's one of the main concepts of the whole class. So what is a deductively valid argument? In order for an argument to be deductively valid, what has to be there? What does it have to be deductively valid? Just let me know. Deductively valid argument. No, Austin, no. Sound is, okay, well, sound arguments are valid, but the definition of soundness adds something extra. So we got to actually hold that for a moment until we get to number 12. But deductive validity can be defined without even mentioning soundness. Soundness requires reference to validity, but not vice versa. So what does it mean then, in any case, for an argument to be valid? Okay, good, Nicole. If all the premises are true, then the conclusion must be true as well. So that statement, or that word must is key. When you have a valid argument, it means that supposing or assuming all the premises to be true, that forces the conclusion to be true as well. So hold the thought of what that definition is, and we'll use some examples in a minute. But now let's move to number 12. What is it for an argument to be sound? To be sound. So validity is part of this definition, but there's an extra thing. So maybe you'll tell me what that is. For sound argument, what has to be there for it to be sound? Sound argument, okay, great. It's a deductively valid argument that has all true premises. Very good. So those are the two parts of this definition. It's got to be valid, number one. But on top of that, the premises actually have to be facts. They have to be real, true facts. So you can have a valid argument that is not sound if the conclusion follows from the premises, but the premises are not all facts. On the other hand, a valid argument is sound if both the conclusion follows from the premises, but in addition to that, the premises are really true. So with those facts or definitions in mind, let's consider number 13 and 14. Tell me, can anybody give an example of an argument? And it's a valid argument, but it's not sound. So what you have to do is kind of create an example of an argument where some of the premises, or at least one of them, is not factual, it's not true, it's not real. But if it was, then together with the other premises, it would imply the conclusion. A good valid but not sound argument generator concept is to just start the argument with a statement that begins with the word all, and then say all of the thing have a feature but that they don't really have. And then from there you can simply follow the logic through to the valid conclusion. But you can also use words like no or none, and you can make a false none statement and then trace that through to a valid conclusion. But anyway, this is for you to do. I need you to give me one example, and then I'll adjudicate if it's the correct example. So someone just throw out, if you can, a valid but not sound argument. Other thing too, if people are ever shy or something and you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to place this info in the chat where everyone can see it, you can also privately chat to me if you like, and then I can keep your identity concealed and use your example that way. But I mean, I don't figure there's much to worry. It's not that embarrassing. We're all learning material together, or you guys are, so not to worry if you need a little clarification. But yeah, I do want you to help me. What is a valid but not sound example? I understand there's fewer of you, so there's fewer people to take the burden off, but that's okay. It's going to be to your benefit. So just, let's see, valid but not sound. I could have made up 5, 10, 20 of them in this time space, so let's just get at least one. Because it doesn't help me to say it. I mean, I already know it. You're the one. Okay, so here we go, Austin. All men are tall. Kevin Hart is a man. Okay, good. We got 2 parts, but we need that conclusion. What is the conclusion, Austin? You're almost home. Okay. Well, no, that's not the conclusion, though. Look at what you're writing, Austin. You say all men are tall. Kevin Hart is a man. That does not imply that he's not tall. It implies the opposite, because it says how many men are tall. Your first premise says all of them are. So if all men are tall and he's one of the men, then that means he's tall. Exactly, correct. Well, yeah, and I know he's not tall. We all know he's short. He's like 5 something. But But good example. Okay, very good, Austin. That's the way you do it. You have to say something that's false, but that if it was true, it would still lead to this conclusion. Good. Another example. Yeah, it's unsound. That's right. That's what 13 is all about, if you see here. Well, I'm trying to get an example of valid but not sound. And now, Caesar, you give a good example, too. It says, all humans can fly. Dr. Vulich is a human. So therefore, Dr. Vulich can fly. And that's a valid argument. It is valid because this conclusion computes from the premises. Like, it's just the information of the conclusion is something that would result if the premises were true. So it's valid, just formally speaking, but the first premise is not a fact because humans cannot fly, not even once. So that's why, although it's valid, it's not sound. Okay, good. And by the way, Caesar, I'm sure that it's just because of our chat, but don't forget, these should be in standard form if possible, but not to worry. Okay, so we're going now to another example. I want an example of one now that is sound. Okay, so just run it back, but now try your best to make sure that whatever is in the premises are facts. So what is a sound argument then? Any example. So like now you would, if you wanted to start it in the same way as before, like starting with an all statement or something, then it just has to be a true all statement. Like, I don't know, all presidents have been men, or all humans have two parents, you know, like a true all statement, and then you can follow that through to your valid conclusion. Or you can use a true no statement, like no woman has walked on Mars, or you know, whatever. But you've got your mind, and you've got a lot of understanding of the world, so just tell us what could be one random example of a sound argument. Okay, so I think what you mean is all cats are mammals. Make sure to specify that, Caesar, but good. Cats are mammals. Okay, so Austin, here you give one. All humans are mammals, and that's also true. Trump is a human, and that's also a fact. And so therefore, he's a mammal. Good, that's a valid argument. And in this case, it is sound. So Caesar, following from your first premise above, cats are mammals, or do you want to switch it to all mammals eat? Well, maybe you mean to combine them. All cats are mammals, all mammals eat, and therefore cats eat. I see what you're saying, yes. Do all mammals eat? I guess they do. I mean, look, there are some human beings that are on a hunger strike for political, you know, protest. You ever seen that? A person like refuses to eat until they can have their cause rectified, and that's a mammal that's not eating. But I understand what you mean, like naturally, in order to survive, all mammals eat. But then there are also mammal human beings that have anorexia, bulimia, other eating disorders. Some people are on a feeding tube and they can't really eat anymore because their digestive system's not functioning properly, so they have to have the food bypass their esophagus. Anyway, Caesar, you understand, I'm very picky, as I have to be to teach this kind of material, so I'm just playing around a little bit, but you understand. Okay, good. So let's go forward from there. What would it be for an argument to be inductively strong? Inductively strong argument. Now we're not talking about deduction, but the other kind of argument, induction. Inductively strong. You're going to have to say something about if the premises are true, but then there's a little different direction that it goes after that from the definition of validity. Inductively strong. Let's remember this. Good, Nicole. So if all the premises are true, then the conclusion is likely to be true, highly likely to be true, but not guaranteed. Okay? Can anybody think of an example like that, where the premises, they show that this conclusion probably will be true, but we can't promise or 100% with certainty say that it would be? So like, think of an example like that. The evidence given in the premises establishes that this conclusion is very likely, but not absolutely guaranteed. What do you think? Inductively strong. Peachy's so cute right now. You guys, you see this, right? Like, just like laying flat back on my lap here. Anyway, yeah. Inductively strong argument. Come on, really? There's too much time. Let's move. Let's go. Even an attempt is better than nothing. So what do you think? You can be asked this question. You need to know it. What you waiting for? Come on. Oh, sorry, got you. Well, no. Nicole, I saw that you already gave the definition, but I'm asking for an example. Not just the definition, but how to apply the definition, you understand? So I saw that you wrote that, but I'm asking for an example. So Austin, you're giving one. The sun rose today just like it's been for billions of years, therefore it should rise tomorrow. Basically, that's a good example. I would have put it a little differently, you know, like you start with a mention of how long the pattern has gone on in the past. So the sun has been rising every day for billions of years. Therefore, the sun will rise tomorrow. Good. Will the sun rise tomorrow? Probably. Why do you think it will? Because it seems to keep happening every day, and it has been for a long time. But if randomly, I don't know, like a big asteroid collided into the sun and blew it up tonight, then there wouldn't be a sun tomorrow to wake up to. So anyway, it's probable, but we can't say absolutely we know. Let's go with another one, because the sun is like the most basic one that I taught everyone when I mentioned it. But I want you to kind of, can you riff on that and like give me your improvised, like freestyle of your own, like inductively strong argument, please? Come up with an argument. Don't just be like, this is one the professor gave, which is fine, and I understand. You can do that on the test, but to make sure that it's coming through in your mind and that you don't just have like the ability to memorize what I said, but you understand it and you could do it on your own in new examples. What would you say is a case that's also an inductively strong argument? Because this point of the class, you know, it's for your human knowledge, right? Inductively weak. Oh, well, okay, Nicole. I didn't even notice that you had given the other definition about not likely to be true. Correct, that's what it means for an argument to be inductively weak. I'm still on the idea of strength. We have the one about the sun, but is this really the only example that we can produce? Maybe it is, I don't know. So like, what's another case? Every time I've ever gotten in my car and turned the key, the car engine has started. And I've been driving for, I don't know, 10 years. So therefore, when I get in my car today and turn the key, it's going to start. You get the genre that I'm kind of working with. Every time I'm driving up in LA at 5 p.m., it's heavy traffic. And that's been a pattern that's gone on for like 20 years. So if I do that today, it's going to be heavy traffic. I haven't ever broken a bone, and I'm over 30 years old, so therefore I won't break a bone today. Look at those conclusions. Do they seem reasonable? Probably, yeah, because if something has not happened for so long, or if it has been happening for so long, then reason tells you it's probably going to continue to go on in the same way. But it's not a guarantee. Logic cannot guarantee that I won't break a bone today. You know, logic cannot guarantee that, I don't know, the sun will come up tomorrow. But if we look at the evidence, it seems pretty reasonable. And so just a quick word on inductively weak, that would be an argument where the conclusion is not even very likely, even if the premises are true. Like say I told you that I found $1 on the ground yesterday, and therefore I'll find $1 on the ground today. That pattern is not very long in the past. It's not extensive, and it's something that's random. It's not likely to repeat. So that would be a weak inductive argument. Okay, so going on. Thanks, everybody. So number 16, disjunctive syllogism. That is sometimes called an argument from elimination. I would just ask, can you give me the format of the disjunctive syllogism? How does that one look? This is one of the 4 forms of deductively valid argument that we've studied. So just let me know, what is disjunctive syllogism? Okay, either A or B. That's the first step. Then what? We have either A or B. That's the beginning. But we got to continue. Caesar, you or someone else, let me know. What is the second premise of disjunctive syllogism? You should know it. You've been tested on it. Many people did pretty well with it. Now's your time to tell me. Either A or B, and then what? That's not the whole thing. That's just one premise of the argument. So I'm not sure if you're trying to give me the whole thing, Caesar, but that's not the whole thing. That's just the first line. Okay, so good, Nicole. Not B. What would then the conclusion be? Well, so couple things. The second premise can eliminate either of the two disjuncts, but whichever one is eliminated, then the conclusion will be the alternative. So Austin, that's right. If it starts with either A or B, and then the second premise states that not A, the conclusion would be B. But Nicole, if your statement was the second premise, then in that case, the conclusion would be A. So it would have been nice for one of the students to put the whole argument out there, because now it's going to confuse some of us to look at this. But A or B, not A, conclusion B. Very good. So give me an example in English now with that format. We've got the form. Now fill in these A's and B's with like English. Just one example or however many you guys can come up with, and then we can move on to the next. Okay, Nicole, I will either buy a purse or a shirt. But which one is not happening? The shirt you like is out of stock. So I guess that makes your mind up that it's going to be there for the purse. Very good. Okay, perfect example. That's the kind of way that it works. You have two possibilities. One of them has been eliminated or rejected. So then the other one is the one that's the case. Okay, good. So then let's do the next. Modus ponens. Modus ponens, modus tollens, chain argument. These are three different kinds of hypothetical syllogisms. That means they all use if-then. But what's the modus ponens type? That's what we're asking about. Modus ponens. Sometimes known as affirming the antecedent. Maybe that's a hint for some of us. Hi, Tyler. I see you there. To anybody that's arrived, we just have a kind of small group for review session, but the video is still going to be posted afterwards on YouTube. And I'm asking you guys to help us go through our study guide, which is displayed here on the screen. We're on number 17 right now, and we're just going to try to get through some of the first notes from the first half of the class. On Thursday, at the same time, 10 to 11:15, we'll take a look at the second half of the study guide, and then I'll distribute the final on Thursday at 4. But anyway, we're in review mode right now. What is modus ponens? That's what I have to know. So anybody can say, you can chat, you can type it out, you can say it on the mic or whatever you want, but you have to say it before I can confirm or deny what you're saying is true.
Modus ponens is affirming the ascendant. Sorry.
Right.
And so if A, then B, and then the second conclusion would be A, so therefore B.
Yeah, well, okay, good. The first premise says if A, then B. The second premise just says A, and then the conclusion, therefore, is that B. So can you please type it out so it's just in the chat for us all to see one time? And then after that, I'd like an example given in English so that we can fill in the blank spaces for these A and B placeholders. A and B are just designated as standing for parts of speech that we would replace with actual content. So yeah, that's the form. Somebody just plug in for A and B. Like, Caesar?
If I sleep early, then I won't be exhausted. Mm-hmm. I sleep early, and the conclusion would be, so I am not exhausted.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, not to worry. Is that a parrot, or is that a kind of bird is that?
Yeah, they're birds. They're no parrots.
Okay, that's really cool. Yeah. I mean, how many is that? 2, 1?
There's a bunch. There's like 10, 11.
Oh, okay, awesome. Well, I mean, that's pretty cool. I've always liked birds. But back to what I was saying. Good example. You said if I sleep early, then I will not be exhausted. So now that case, sleeping early is A, not being exhausted is B. We follow that by saying I did sleep early. The second premise affirms the antecedent, the if part. So then the conclusion is just the consequent, which is the B part after the word then. If I sleep early, I won't be exhausted. I did sleep early, so you know what? Therefore, I'm not exhausted. Okay, good. If I run, then I'll sweat. I did run, therefore I sweated. If I drive 100 miles per hour, I'll get a ticket. I drove 100 miles per hour, therefore I got a ticket, and on and on. Okay. Now I want to ask about modus tollens. What's the format for the modus tollens example? So it starts with if A then B, I'll tell you that much. So the beginning of it is just the same as modus ponens, but it goes in a different direction after that for the next two steps. So Tyler, if A then B, not B, but you got the conclusion wrong, I'm sorry. You got 2 out of 3 parts correct, but there's an issue with what you said at the bottom. Not A, correct. Also, you should use the word therefore before stating the conclusion rather than then, because it makes it ambiguous whether you mean to refer to a consequent or just a conclusion. But good, yes. So you have the full statement. If A, then B, not B, and then therefore not A. They call this denying the consequent for the reason of what happens in the second premise. So anybody then, tell me one example that's in that way, in that form. Just follow the logic and format. Say a sentence that has the structure if A, then B. Follow it up by denying B, and then claim as a conclusion that not A. So what do you say? If A, then B, not B, so not A. What could be an example of that? That's for you to tell. Since we have the format, it shouldn't be too difficult. You know, you already know how to present it. You get a lot more material in the time that we have if you're faster. That's all I'm saying. So, but I'm not going to rush it. I'm not going to just give you the answer. You need to say it, and then I can tell you about what you said. Does this part seem more difficult, just giving the example after you already know the structure? I mean, these are just words. We say words like this all the time. Okay, if my dad is an engineer, then he received his master's. My dad is an engineer, therefore he did receive his master's. No, Austin. If you look at what you wrote, that's modus ponens. I'm asking you for modus tollens. Modus tollens. If you see what it says in modus tollens, the second premise is not B. So that's not correct. Let's try again. If I passed the driving test, then I drove well. Okay. I see that. I did not drive well. And so, therefore, what? We're almost there. Come on, Caesar. So, Austin, good. Therefore, the person did not pass. That's nice how you stepped in. So, correct. If I passed the driving test, then I drove well. But I didn't drive well, so therefore I didn't pass. And that's a good example. I don't know. We can continue on the same theme. If I drop the glass, then the glass will break. But the glass didn't break, therefore I didn't drop it. If I wear a mask, then I won't get the coronavirus. I did get the coronavirus, so therefore I did not wear a mask. If Trump won the election, then the states would certify his win. But the states did not certify that he won, so he didn't win the election. You know, these are all just modus tollens examples, just so you can have some thought about how they work. Next, chain argument. Let's do that, please. What is the chain argument format? How does this one go? It's a little different from modus ponens and tollens, but there are if-then statements that are all throughout the chain argument. So someone will tell me, how does the chain argument go? Chain argument. Okay, Tyler, you say if A, then B. If B, then C. So therefore, conclusion, if A, then C. Very good, yes. That's the type of argument that is the chain argument. It's a set of conditionals where they're linked together like the links of a chain, because the next statement takes the consequent of the previous statement and makes it into the antecedent of the subsequent one. So it's like this. Okay, so this is how the chain argument looks format-wise. Notice this, that the conclusion is an if-then. It says if-then. And what are the two components in the conclusion? Well, one of them is the antecedent from the first line, and the other one is the consequent from the second line. So now, maybe as we have done before, try to give me an example that fits this format. What would be one possible case of a chain argument using English to substitute for A, B, and C? So think of things that happen in like a chain reaction. Oh, well, if this happens, it's going to lead to that. And if that happens, it's going to lead to something else. That's the kind of if-then stuff that you're trying to think of right now in your mind. So what could be something like that? In a way, I think remembering the form is like the harder part. Just giving the example once you know the form, you really just have to kind of come up with some common sense statement about if-then. So let's hear it or see it. One example. And then we'll pretty much be good to go on this whole review of the first initial chapter that we were studying in class. No, don't worry, just go ahead though. Tell me an example. Chain argument. Okay, so Tyler, if I focus more on my training, then I can improve my performance. That's number one. Number two, if I can improve my performance, then I can make it to the championship. Okay, good. That's number two premise. Then the conclusion, therefore, if I improve my performance, no, you messed it up, Tyler. This conclusion is wrong. That's not the way the conclusion is supposed to be. If you look at what you wrote, your conclusion does not match the form because it has to have the antecedent from the first premise. Okay, Austin, if you don't sleep, you'll be tired. If you're tired, you will not be productive. If you're not productive, you'll be lazy, and therefore if you don't sleep, you'll be lazy. That's good, Austin. In your case, you had added one additional premise, which is fine. Yours would have the form if A, then B, if B, then C, if C, then D, and so therefore if A, then D. Very good. So if I run, then I'll sweat. If I sweat, then I will smell bad. And so therefore, if I run, then I will smell bad. I don't know. If I save my money, then I can get a PlayStation 5 for Christmas. If I get a PlayStation 5 for Christmas, then I'm going to play it for 8 hours a day over a Christmas break. So therefore, if I save up my money, I'll get a PlayStation 5 for 8 hours a day over a Christmas break. You know, just throwing out examples. And Caesar, therefore, if I trained, that's right, if I trained, or to be precise, it would say if I focus more on my training. But anyway, then I can make it to the championship. That's right. So yeah, your example could have been corrected, Tyler, in the way that Caesar mentions here. It would just have to be changing the conclusion so that the two parts match the one antecedent to the consequent of the second premise. Okay, good all around. Now, one question, number 20. What is the standard form of an argument? You see it displayed on the board, but just what are you seeing? How is it structured in terms of the visual? The standard form, how does it look when you have a standard form of an argument? Just tell me that. Where does the conclusion go in the standard form of an argument? How are the premises provided or presented on the page or on the screen? That's one thing to know, because if you are asked to write arguments on the test, you should write them in standard form. But what is it? What's standard form? The standard form of an argument, the way that you have to write it. Otherwise, I would deduct points. Okay, so premise, conclusion. Okay, I see what you did there, Caesar. You basically showed it, but you didn't explain it. Okay, so the conclusion goes where? Like in words, where does it go? It goes on the bottom, and the premises go above the conclusion. The premises have to be on separate lines. So you can't have two premises on one horizontal line. When you finish one premise, it's like a list that goes vertically. You go down to the next item in the list, and it's below it. So you have listed premises, one each to its own horizontal line, and then the conclusion at the bottom. Okay, good. So no worries. That's all of the Chapter 8 review. Now, some of this stuff, it'll be a little quicker because we don't have to produce examples. We just have to remember the information. And I'm going to try and do this like lightning round if we can, so we can at least get through another one of these main chapters right now. Milgram, which one is that? Even if it's just a couple words, I'll fill in the details. If you could just tell me some basic thing about Milgram. Which one was this? What was Milgram? What was that all about? There's a Milgram experiment that we learned about.
That was an experiment on authority and obedience.
Yes. What did it involve? You're not going to say what did it involve?
I remember it was a prison, right?
No, it's not the prison, so you're wrong.
No, that's Zimbardo, right?
Yeah. So it's the other one. And Austin, that's right. Teacher versus learner. What did they make the teacher do? Or they didn't really, I mean, the teacher could have said they refused, but what was the teacher being asked to do?
To ask questions and shock the learner every time he got it wrong.
Yeah, so the learner was supposed to be memorizing words, and the teacher was supposed to give them a little shock whenever they gave the wrong answer. Now, just a couple details. These shocks were not really happening, so there was no actual punishment, but the teacher thought it was real, and the whole point was to see how far will this teacher go just because they're being given orders by some person in a lab coat who they think is an authority figure. They wanted to see how obedient are people going to be when the things they're being asked to do are clearly wrong, and their morality and their judgment should kick in and tell them to stop. Well, what were the ultimate results? That's my last part of this. What was the result? What did we learn? Did people just disobey the authority, or did they follow them, or what? What do you think? I mean, that's the whole point. Like, we didn't just do it to mess with people. We wanted to learn how obedient are people. So what was the answer? 3 out of 4 did follow the instructions all the way. So it kind of was sad. It shows that most people just are mindlessly obedient and don't think for themselves, even when it's clear that they should be thinking for themselves and what they're doing is wrong. Okay, good. So next is Zimbardo. And you can see the reference in the question. So I think you can understand. This is the prison simulation, the Stanford prison experiment. They were basically trying to show how would people act when they were put in a social scenario where some people have more power than others and they don't have much guidance in terms of how to exert their authority. Well, what ended up happening in this case was that they had to cancel the experiment early. It was supposed to go on for 2 weeks, but after 6 days they stopped it because it was becoming really harmful and traumatizing to all those that were involved, especially the prisoners. They started to sexually humiliate them, verbally harass them, engage in all manner of psychological abuse, and therefore it shows us that when you have social support and lax oversight, people can sometimes behave very badly. Critical thinking helps do that. So next, 3 stages of cognitive development. First of all, cognitive development itself is just a lifelong process of acquiring intelligence and problem-solving ability. But what are the 3 stages of it? Quickly, you could just tell me these 3 words. They say it starts with this, then it goes to that, and then it finally ends up in the 3rd stage. So what did blank, blank, blank? 3 stages of cognitive development.
Oh, the stages of cognitive development is dualism, and then after it goes to relativism, and it finishes with commitment.
Good. Dualism, relativism, commitment. So about each one. Dualism is the first one where the person thinks that truth is just all black and white, and authority figures know everything, and you should just listen to them and not think for yourself. The second stage is relativism. That's when you instead believe that, never mind, there's no such thing as objective truth. There's just everyone's personal opinion, and we should just treat all these opinions as equal because none are more or less valid. The third one is commitment. That's when you come up with your own positions based on your own judgment and the best available evidence. But unlike the dualist, you think that you can come up with the truth, not just authority figures. And unlike the relativist, you do believe that there's truth that you can discover, like that is objective. Okay, confirmation bias, what's that? It's a big problem in our world, increasingly so, I think, because of the internet. But whatever, what is it? Confirmation bias. What is that? Something that we should all know and be careful not to slip into and to do ourselves. Confirmation bias, what is that? It's a person that's only seeking out certain things, but what am I talking about? Confirmation bias. Okay, When you seek out info that agrees with what you already believe. I would only add one word to what you wrote there, Tyler. That's good. When you only seek out, when you exclusively seek out information that agrees with what you already believe. So you don't even look at the other side or the criticism or the counter argument. You only look at information that reinforces your already established views. That's bias. That's bias in favor of confirming what you already think. So like, I don't know, suppose that somebody has this crazy idea that there is massive electoral fraud, like whatever propaganda that's being pumped out by the White House. If that person believes it, then when they go out online trying to determine whether it's true, they're only going to look at like weird conspiratorial websites and other social media accounts that purport to establish this claim. They're not going to look at the wealth of evidence and the official agencies that have showed otherwise. So confirmation bias is bad. And it's easy to indulge in nowadays more than ever because we don't have a centralized source of information. There's so much splintering of media on the internet and on social media that people can pretty much go out in search of facts that make them feel confirmed and never challenge themselves or even develop the critical thinking skills to make an objective judgment about what's true and false. Okay, next, number 5. Number 5 is kind of like it combines a whole bunch of concepts that are all mentioned under the heading of being a good critical thinker and what are the qualities of it. So I don't want to take too much time. I'll just quickly say a few things. Analytical skills. That's the ability to provide reason and evidence for the things you believe instead of just having no basis. Effective communication. Being able to write, read, and speak well, and also knowing about various styles of communication. Inquiry skills. Knowing how to collect and find information for the purpose of research. Flexibility, the ability to change your mind or your plans if it's appropriate and called for, instead of just doubling down on like a failed course of action. So being able to change your mind or plans and being open-minded to other views. Open-minded skepticism. So skeptical part is you don't believe things unless there's really good proof beyond reasonable doubt. But the open-minded part is you also don't sort of shut down any options or possibilities before you look at the proof. So you're open-minded to all positions, but you're not going to believe any of them until there's really solid reason and evidence behind it. Method of doubt. Method of doubt was a method proposed by the French philosopher of the 17th century, René Descartes. Descartes said that we have to determine what is true so that we have a foundation for science. But to know what is true with total certainty, he says, use the method of doubt. And what it says is, assume that things are false if there's even any possible way they could be false. And by means of that method, he thought that only things that are totally certain and true would survive the scrutiny of the method of doubt. Now, for Descartes, he takes it pretty far. He questions whether we can even be sure that we are not dreaming all the time and that our life is even real. I don't think we would go as far as he does with the method of doubt, but it's healthy and helpful for you to be a little bit skeptical about things that can't be proven or that need better evidence. Okay, next, collaborative learning. That's being able to work well with other people to form shared solutions to our common problems instead of always wanting to go it alone or being standoffish or just unwilling to take other people's advice or input. And then creative problem solving is the ability to come up with creative solutions or imaginative solutions to complex problems. Sometimes thinking of these solutions in advance before the problem happens. In other cases, being able to make a quick analysis of what needs to be done to solve a problem and taking action that's effective toward a solution. Okay, so now number 6, why is critical thinking important for being a citizen in a democracy? Well, I guess during this semester, interestingly, we've all had a kind of lesson in the value of democracy and in making wise choices as a voter. Democracy, the lifeblood and the essence and the heart of democracy is voting in elections. So when you vote, you're being asked to make decisions. You're being asked to decide whether one candidate is better than the other or whether one platform or policy is better than another. So for you to be able to do that, you have to weigh arguments. You have to be able to weigh the claims that are made by the various sides and come up with your right conclusion about which voting choice better reflects your self-interest and the interest of your community. So you can't be a wise voter unless you're skilled at evaluating arguments and evidence. That's what good critical thinkers are good at. So good critical thinkers are wise voters, and that helps the health of democracy. Okay, Number 7, how can critical thinking benefit you in terms of making a rational life plan and self-esteem? Well, generally, it just makes you better at doing both things. Good critical thinkers are capable of making successful plans. They know what steps that have to be achieved in order to reach those ultimate goals. And they also, some studies indicate, have higher reported levels of confidence and lower levels of rage, depression, and frustration because they know they can rely on their own judgment. Okay, next, the 3-level model of critical thinking. So we've got experience, interpretation, and analysis, but what are each one about? Who could tell me what the experience level is in critical thinking stage 1? You start by just doing what? So experience, interpretation, analysis, just want to know what each of the 3 is. Starting with experience. What's that one? Okay, so just describe what your experience was. Correct, Austin. Important though, at that level, the first level, you're not going farther yet to try and understand why it happened or explain why it happened. So the first level, correct. You just describe what it was. But at the second level, interpretation, now you do what? After you just say what happened, like, I don't know, I didn't get the job, or failed the exam, or I don't know, she said yes, you know, whatever the case may be. That's the experience. But at the interpretation stage, now what are you doing? You're trying to explain it, why it happened. So it would be like trying to say, well, I didn't get the job because maybe my breath smelled bad when I was doing the interview, or she said yes because she'd been wanting me to propose for already years, and therefore she was getting impatient to do it. I don't know. So you give a reason, you give an explanation. What's the third level though? Analysis. This is key. With the analysis step, level or stage, you're going to do what? Just that third level, the final one. We got 2 out of 3, so just trying to finish this one out. First, what happened? Next, why it happened. And then after this, the third stage, you're going to do what at that point? You consider whether the interpretation was even correct, right? Or if you need to switch it up because maybe there's a different explanation that's better. Sometimes your first attempt to explain something is not the best possible explanation. Sometimes you're doing it in the heat of the moment. Sometimes you're like being emotional. Sometimes you need a little bit more information until you can come up with the right analysis. So it's not to say that your initial interpretation is always wrong, but usually it's good for you to go back to it and rethink it a second time to see whether you really believe that that's the best explanation you could have had. Okay, so then we go on. Wait, Austin, you're saying be subjective. Do you not mean objective? I think that would be the better way to put it, because being subjective means that you're just in your feelings and you're not thinking clearly or like rationally. Being objective means you just look at the facts and you don't let your, yeah, good. So fair enough, thanks there. So then let's go on. Obstacles to critical thinking. There's a random assortment here of things that stand in the way or block you from doing good critical thinking. So I'll just go over these. One of them is avoidance. That's when you just try to avoid people or ideas that don't agree with you instead of just looking at them and trying to understand them at least. Anger. That's when you have an emotional reaction of hostility and anger just because someone is disagreeing with you or presenting you with an alternative idea. Cliche. Overused one-line phrases that often seek to stop critical thought or discussion. Things like whatever, it is what it is, to each his own, you know, boys will be boys, that's how the cookie crumbles, and so on and so forth. Okay, then there's denial. That's when a person simply flat out denies alternative views instead of even looking at them. Ignorance, that's choosing to not become informed about something so that you don't have to make a choice or take an action or take a position. So like deliberately remaining uninformed so that you're excused from having to take a view. Like if a person says, oh, I don't know who to vote for because I'm not going to look at the arguments of either candidate. But that means you're choosing to be ignorant of it. It's not that the information's not out there. People should, I think, sometimes have a little bit more self-esteem. You know, when people say like, oh, I don't know, I'm not into like following the facts or the news. What are you saying about yourself? That you just don't like to think or that you don't like to know what's going on? You should do those things. It's a credit to you. It's not like a bad thing. Anyway, conformity. Following the majority or what's popular just to fit in. So doing the same things or taking the same beliefs that you think are in the mainstream just because you want to be part of the group instead of thinking for yourself. Okay, struggling. Endlessly going back and forth over what to do or what to believe and never coming up with an outcome or conclusion. So like never ending struggle over what to decide. Then there's these forms of narrow-mindedness. Okay, absolutism. Placing total trust in authority figures, having no ability to challenge them and thinking that they're always right. So that's the kind of person who just has no ability to think independently from authority. Okay, egocentrism. That's believing that you're the center of everything, that you're smarter and better than everyone else. And so if you're egocentric, egotistical, some say, then you're not going to have a good level of respect for people, especially when they don't agree with you. But egocentric people are going to lose because they're not going to have friends, they're not going to have allies, and in the end, they're going to shield themselves from self-criticism, and that means they're not going to be able to actually make improvements to their character or to their person. Ethnocentrism. The unjustified belief in the superiority of a person's race or group or culture. So like, white supremacy, or if there is religious fundamentalism, which says people that are not a member of my religion are like subhuman or not worthy of respect. These would be versions of ethnocentrism. It's a big problem. People like to feel that they're part of groups, and I think there's no problem feeling pride, of course, in the achievements of whatever racial or cultural category that you come from. But you got to remember it's a big world and there's a lot of us and there's a lot of different people. So you don't want to cut yourself off from the value and the experience with people of diverse backgrounds and cultures. So ethnocentrism is bad. And then there's anthropocentrism, which is the belief that mankind is the center of everything. And if that's your view, then you don't have much respect for nature or the animals. In my mind, I don't see it as being quite on a par with the other three. But fair enough, if we're totally destructive of nature, then we do undermine our own ability to survive. Okay, rationalization. Doing something impulsively and then trying to come up with some smart-sounding explanation for why you did it later. So trying to make it seem reasonable, but in the moment it was done without any kind of thought or deliberation. And then there's doublethink. That's believing two opposite things at the same time, right? So if a person says, I don't know, they've got contradictions in their belief. This is the most people who've ever attended a graduation. Also, my brother's graduation was bigger. That's not possible for both of those two things to be true. But sometimes people want to have it both ways, and so they have contradictions in their own thought. Okay, so there's more information on chapter 3 and 4, but we've covered all the review notes from chapter 8 and 1, the first two. This stuff can be gone over pretty quick, and so here's the remaining schedule. I have a review session part 2 for us on Thursday morning at the same time, 10 to 11:15. I'm going to post this one to our class and to the YouTube channel. So this video stays up and you can come back to it if you need to review for those chapters again. I have another section of critical thinking that I had to move to the typical 4 p.m. time. That's the reason that I had to have our class attend this earlier morning meeting. But I'll say this, if anybody wants to get extra review and if they don't mind spending extra time, I'm still holding my meeting today from 4 to 5:15. And some of it will be repetitive because I will go over some of the material here again, but I might get a little further in chapter 3 and chapter 4. So you're free and welcome to join that if you like. But on Thursday morning from 10 to 11:15, we'll try to quickly breeze past some of this stuff and then do as much of the review in the recent material in the second half of the semester as we can. Okay, so don't forget also that your last homework is due today. Just turn it in to me today sometime, if you can, before midnight, and it'll be considered on time. And that's it. We're down to the final exam and the submission of your last homework. So if anybody needs anything in the next day or so, just definitely let me know. How many questions are going to be on the final? I think I'm going to add, I think it's going to be 33 or 4. And they're going to be valued at about 3 points each. So it'll add up to 100 points. And then it's going to be double value because it's 20% of your grade. So it'll be out of 100, but then I'll multiply that by 2, and it'll be put into your total point value. The total class is out of 1,000, and wherever you finish, it's going to be derived from what percentage of 1,000 points that you have in the end. But it'll be about 33 or 4. It'll be cumulative, but more emphasis on the second half of the semester. Okay, Caesar? So yeah, that's it, guys. I'm gonna let us go for now. But like I told you, you have opportunities to attend other review sessions to get more of the information before the test. Aside from that, I'm gonna close the two meetings. So we're on dual platform right now. I'm gonna close this Zoom meeting, and then I'm gonna close the YouTube live recording just after that. Assignment number 4, yeah, you can make it double spaced. That's good. But if you do need more page length than 2 pages because of that, that's also fine. So double spaced. Yeah, double spaced 12-point font, just like MLA. But I don't like to refer much to MLA because I just think confuses people. So I just tell you directly, double spaced, 12-point. Not to worry. Very good. Okay, thanks again then. So like I'm saying, I'm ending the Zoom meeting, and then I'll end the YouTube. So here, bye-bye Zoom. And here for my YouTubers, I see you guys, and now I'm ending this one. So thanks again, and have a good day. I'll see you soon.